Hello, homesteaders. Today we're going to talk about an interesting topic. At least I find it interesting. Why do we use rainwater catchment rather than a well? When I built this homestead, and as I developed it after getting the house built, one of the things that was really affecting everything I did was the travel that I was doing to the third world. I was working with missionaries in places where the poorest of the poor live, and my goal and my job was to figure out ways we could alleviate such terrible poverty, and that's where we came up with a lot of our AbundaCulture ideas. A lot of the places where I went, wells were difficult to maintain, and what often happened was an organization, and there are lots of them in America that do a great job putting wells in places like Africa, for instance. And so they would come in and put in a well, and they were built to last for a long time, and they do, but eventually the handle becomes a little bit loose and there's a bolt in there would fall out. And when that happened, the people would just walk away. They didn't have a well anymore. And that's hard for us to understand, living in a culture where when something breaks, we fix it. Well, in very much of the third world, particularly where people are very poor, they don't have things. They don't have a whole lot of things, and therefore they don't learn how to fix things. And so when it doesn't work, they just walk away. So they really have a hard time maintaining the wells that are put in. And the other thing was, I just thought, a well is really complex, it's expensive. So could we do this even in a place like the place where I'm living, where we get like 9, maybe 10 inches of rain a year? There have been 2 years in the 20 that I've been out here that we had 1 and 2 inches respectively. Now that was tough. That really tested our system. Basically what we do is we catch water on the roof. So the roof has to be built out of a material that won't taint the water so that it can be drinkable. We'd use rubber roofs or corrugated tin roofs or metal roofs of some kind. Slate roofs would work. Asphalt shingles, no, not so much. Using those roofing materials, we could catch the water right off the roof. And if we caught that water before it ever touched the ground, then we would have about the cleanest source of water that you can get. So it's just from the rain, hits the roof, and it's taken right into the cistern. This system has worked for thousands and thousands of years. Underground, there were hundreds of cisterns, and all around Jerusalem and the Holy Land, there were wells and cisterns dug everywhere. They were dug, in a lot of cases, right into the lime. But my reasoning was, if I can do this without the complexity and the expense of a well, in our case out here, it would be a minimum of $15,000. The water here, where we're at, is very deep. We have to go at least 400 feet by state law. They go 400, 800, and 1,200 typically. And so it can easily cost $30,000 to put in a well. Or you can pay a whole lot of money and not get anything. So I went to Brad Lancaster's work, and I recommend him very highly. He is the guy who has written, I think, the best, most comprehensive studies on rainwater catchment, cisterns, the whole idea of rainwater catchment. And there are a couple of volumes, and they're very worthwhile. Not only will he tell you how to catch water, he'll also talk about great gray water systems so you can extend water. And that's another thing we do here on our homestead. We use every drop of water at least twice. And sometimes we'll use the same water 3 or 4 times. Let me give you an example. I'll do the dishes, and I'll save the rinse water. The stuff that I just rinse a little soap off is very clean. I'll use that to wash my clothes. The stuff that's, got the soap in it and everything and all the grease and gunk, I use that to water the trees. When we do laundry, we can save the water from rinsing, and we use that to water the plants in the greenhouse, which is where we do our laundry. So by developing these systems where we're maximizing the use of water, it has really helped us out here, because water is our Achilles heel. And for so much of the Western United States, that's true. So is rainwater catchment or is well digging a better idea? Well, the truth of the matter is that it's great to have both. But of course, if you can't afford a well, or if you're going to have to wait for years for someone to help you dig that well, then rainwater catchment makes a lot of sense. It's very inexpensive compared to well digging, even though you're going to have cisterns, and they're going to cost some money. But it's still very inexpensive, and it's so simple. There are so few things that can break that you couldn't fix yourself. So I think that rainwater catchment does have some advantages, but of course, having a well also has advantages. Having a well means that you can have the kind of water that would allow you to raise cattle instead of chickens. A cow will drink somewhere between 20 and 25 gallons of water on a hot day, and chickens will drink about 2 gallons. So if you're having to make your decisions based on your water, it's going to drive you to make the decision to raise chickens rather than cows. So those are some ideas to think about. Both rainwater catchment and having a well have a lot of positive things to them, and they also have negative things involved with them. We can run out of water if it doesn't rain. And when we had those 2 years that I mentioned, we had to depend on our neighbors, and that was our redundancy. I would like to suggest to all my listeners that at least this might be another system. If you already have a well, good for you. What happens when the electricity goes down and you can't use the pump in the well? You got nothing. So what I'm suggesting is it's wonderful to have the well as a backup. Develop yourself a rainwater catchment system, and then have the well to fill up your cistern when it doesn't rain. And now you've got something that really works with redundancy involved, and I love that. As you know, we're always trying to have 1 or 2 or 3 systems so that if one doesn't work, the other one will work, and if 2 of them don't work, we still have one left. That's the kind of idea. So I would suggest, and I encourage you to look at Brad Lancaster's wonderful work and see if rainwater catchment would not make a lot of sense for you. Thanks for your time. If you have any questions, please contact us and let us know what you're thinking. We appreciate you guys. Remember, Jesus come back soon. Keep your eyes on the sky.
Jesus, take me like a rock and roll me till I'm whole again.
Now, it never ends. The pressure.
Hot dog.